Hello friends, this is Durga from ITversity, one stop shop to learn all the technologies. So we recently started big data workshop and this is backup for the live training. So let me start the WebEx session and then we'll proceed. Hello guys on WebEx, I hope you guys can hear me. And also I just started sharing my screen. Please confirm that you guys can see my screen. You can ping in WebEx. Hello, can you guys see my screen? And can you hear me? Thank you, Himanshu. Let me also validate that the streaming is happening properly. Yeah. It is good. So let us get started. I hope everyone have IntelliJ or Maven with Eclipse. Okay, so we have a couple of exercises which we passed last time because we don't have proper IDE set up properly. Okay, so let us start with those exercises. And if you have any questions, I will answer those. If you don't have, we will proceed further. Okay, so let me open the slides. So these are the slides. I hope you guys are able to get the link for the slides. And the first exercise is this one. Create a class by name time. It must have 3 fields as constructors. Uh, Hours, minutes, and seconds. It must fail if invalid values. So what is the function you have to define to do that validation? So if you have to write this class, if you want to make your class fail if someone passes hours, minutes, and seconds invalid values, yeah, we have to use require method, and we don't need to invoke. It will be called automatically. Okay, and the fields must be accessible from outside, which means I think by default they're accessible from outside. No, you have to define additional fields, I guess. I will talk about it a little bit later. And then the values of above 3 arguments must be valid. Class must be immutable, which means a regular class is typically immutable. Add a field by name. So this is important. Add a field by name minutes of day that returns the number of minutes passed during the day. So you have to write additional method. And then make sure you are able to access the class from SBT console. So I will show how to do that. Okay, I might not define the complete class, but we will see how to access the program through SBT console, and we will take it from there. So even if you are using IntelliJ, even though it is easy to set up IntelliJ and Scala, it is pretty straightforward, I will show. On top of it, you also have to set up Scala and SBT so that you can actually access through console. Okay. So the way you need to set up IntelliJ is, as I have demonstrated earlier, you just say install Scala IDE. Okay, and then you go to Scala. Sorry, not this one. Go to install go to this one, go to download, go to all downloads, choose the version. I think for IntelliJ IDEA with Scala plugin, it doesn't matter. You can actually choose later also. You can download IntelliJ IDEA from anywhere. But for Scala, you have to download only 2.11.8. Okay, for Windows, you will get a MSI. You just have to double click it and it will install, and you can run Scala from anywhere. For Mac and all, you have to set up environment variables, and I will show you a little bit later. First, let us proceed with IntelliJ, and then I will talk about setting up Scala on Mac also. So here, you can click on this and it will download, and it will download the DMG, and you can double install on Mac, and it will install, double click on Mac, and it will install IntelliJ. And even though we are saying download IntelliJ IDEA with the Scala plugin, it will not install Scala automatically. You have to manually install. When I say manually install, you don't need to again download and do the installation. Rather, what you have to do is search for IntelliJ, and once it opens up, okay. So first time, what you have to do is, let me close this project. Okay, I'm closing this. Or let me say file new project. No, not this one. I have to close this one. Where is close project? This one.
File close project.
Okay, file close project. Okay. Okay. So once you close project, you will. So this is how it will look like. First thing you have to do is click on configure, go to plugins, and then search for Scala here. And if it is not installed, you will see install. You just have to click on it, and it will install the Scala. And when you install Scala for IntelliJ, FBT also will come for you. You don't need to install FBT like the way we have done with Maven, Eclipse, and then Scala, and then FBT. The way I have shown as part of the documentation and the videos. So once you install, you can click on OK, and then say create open project. Sorry, create new project. And here, you should not choose Java. Rather, you should choose Scala. Okay, and then choose FBT. Then it will create a FBT project. Okay. Now you can click on next. You can give the name of the project. So let me name it as WL ABS Wave Labs. And then you have to choose the appropriate Scala version. In future, we want to use 2.11.8. So you can choose whatever version you want. Make sure you choose appropriate JDK and appropriate FBT version and Scala version. Sometimes Scala and FBT can be incompatible. So this combination works 1.8, 0.13, and 2.11. If it does not work, that means most likely it is due to incompatibility issues. Okay, and use auto import. And Java docs is optional. If you want, you can choose. Otherwise, you can ignore. Okay, I am choosing Java docs also here, and click on finish. Okay, now it will take some time because this is my second or third project. It will be faster, but for the first time, it will take half an hour to 1 hour depending upon your internet speed. Okay, once it is set up, you will see source directory, target directory, everything over here. Okay, so now you see it's done. You can see the source directory here. On the source, there is a main, and then there is Scala directory, and you have build.sbt here. So in future, if we have to define any dependencies, we have to update this file. Okay, and then you can go here, right click on it, just to make sure that everything is working fine. Choose Scala class. Here we want to define a main function, so I'm choosing object. Okay. If you want to create class as the exercise suggests, you can give the class here. If it is main function, first let me write simple hello world object, and then we will talk about the class, regular class. So I'm giving HW as the name, and let me zoom in here. Okay. And F main. Okay, println hello world. Save it, right click on it, then run HW. You will see the output here. Okay, this confirms that our environment is set. Now, if you want to do it something from the console or terminal, like building the jar file, etc., you have to set up Scala SBT manually. Okay. So when it comes to Mac, I hope every one of you have Homebrew. If you have Homebrew, you can just say brew install SBT, and it will install SBT for you. For Scala, it is not as simple as that. You have to download it, and I will show what needs to be done. Means it depends upon which version of Scala you are using. Probably some versions might not be compatible with 1.7. Okay, yeah, 2.1 is the latest one. So 2.12 might have that issue. That's why I use 2.7.8 rather than 2.4. Yeah, by default, it takes 2.1, which is latest, but you should choose 2.11.8. Oh, yeah, as part of plugin, no, this is while creating the project, you can define which version of Scala you want to use. Okay. I don't know how to copy languages and frameworks. Somewhere I'm not expert in intelligence, I'm not sure, but what you can do is you can cancel it and try new one. New project. No, new project. New project. Okay. Scala, click on next. Here we have Scala version. I'm not sure, even this one might be incompatible with 1.8 and 7. If you have Java 1.7, it could be, as per my knowledge, it shouldn't have any issues, but I'm not 100% sure. Okay, so now I have SBT already, so we can just run SBT and confirm that SBT is working without any issues. And if you have SBT, what you can do in the project where it is created, you can go there, idea projects, and the new one which I have created is W Labs. So W Labs, and I can say SBT here. So wherever we have build.sbt, we can say SBT there, and here you can compile, you can run. In this case, I can say run, and it will run the main program. There is only one program now, so it will just run that program. If you have multiple classes with main or multiple objects with main, it will list all of them, and you can choose whatever needs to be run. Okay, and then you can say console, and it will take you to the Scala. Okay, and for this, I don't think you need to set up Scala. For example, if I open another tab I haven't installed Scala yet, but that SBT have all the information it is required. Okay, so even if you do not set up Scala separately by using SBT console only for that project, you can access whatever Scala version is being used as part of that project. So it's very, very powerful way. And not only this, you can, if you have bunch of classes here, you can, and if you want to do additional processing, instead of writing new classes and all, you can just write typical Scala code for exploratory purposes. And once you figure out how the logic should be, then you can actually enhance the programs. Okay, now I have that HW, right? I can say HW main, and it takes array of strings, and you can see that it returns the hello world. Okay, so if it is a Spark project, if there are few other things that are already included as part of the SBT, and if it is working from IntelliJ, you can access all those things through console. Okay, so everything will be taken care for you automatically. No. So the question is whether we need to use SBT in CCA 175. The answer is I don't think so, and don't unless they explicitly say use SBT, don't use it, because if they don't set up the environment for you already, and then when you try to create SBT based project, it will take enormous amount of time to download the things and all, and then compile it. So unless they specify, don't go for SBT as part of the certification. Just use simple Scala.
You have to use IDs or normal.
So they provide Sublime Text, they provide IDEA, they provide NetBeans, they provide Eclipse. Okay, they provide everything. Whether it will have everything you require or not, there can be some gaps. So to avoid all those things, I will recommend to go with Sublime Text, which is simple editor. You can just copy paste the code between your VA editor where you are running, not VA editor, the terminal where you are running the Spark shell, and the Sublime editor where you are coding. So if you have to make any modifications, it will be easier for you if you use Sublime Text rather than using VA editor. Okay. So now the exercise, so you can take few minutes here. I hope everyone's environment is ready. If you guys have any issues, let me know. I will take care of it. And then is it was working with 1.8, 1.7, 2.11? Okay.
For Eclipse, how to select? I mean, we need to view this Scala during creation of the project or once.
So with Eclipse, it is a little bit complicated. What you have to do is first you have to create the directory structure. Okay, from the command line, you need to have Scala, you need to have SBT setup, and then you have to create base directory for your project. Then create source folders like source main Scala, and then you have to define build.sbt. Okay, and then you have to do SBT package, and you have to use SBT Eclipse plugin. So it's pretty tedious process. It's not as simple as what we have done here. So if you want to explore, if you want to do it with Eclipse, so you can go to www.itversity.com. Go to courses tab, courses page, and here you can see this big data workshop certifications. Okay, here you can go to this lesson called Learn Scala and go to this set development environment Scala. So it has all the details which you need to take care. It's pretty tedious process. Okay, you have to follow this page and you have to set up the environment. It's not as simple as IntelliJ. Every time you create a new project with Eclipse, it will take at least a half an hour, because you have to create the directories. You have to create base directory, then you have to create source directory, then you have to do SBT package, make sure SBT Eclipse plugin is installed, then you have to run SBT Eclipse, which will update the class path and all those things. And then you have to import into Eclipse, and then the project will be available to you. Okay, you can go through this documentation. So these have external links. You just have to click on these links, which will take you to the other source resources, and you have to do this exercise. Okay. So now this is saying create a class by name time, right? So here you have to right click on this new Scala class and give the name as time, and it takes three. So let me zoom in a little bit here. Okay, so it takes three arguments, three fields, hours, minutes, seconds. It must fail if invalid values. So here, the first thing you need to answer is whether we want to create variables here or here. So any guesses whether we have to create here or here? You mean in the parentheses? Yeah. So we need to mention it in the parentheses because here you can see the requirement is the fields must be accessible from outside. If we define fields as part of the class, then they will not be accessible from outside. So we cannot actually define it here. Instead, we need to define here. So we can say val, okay, hours int. I think we have to define it as val. So let's start with val. And then it is complaining here must be either be declared abstract or implement abstract member hours in what is that? Or this class is already there. Okay. Okay. That is not the issue. Let us see. Where minutes and then where seconds. Okay, so this is not mandatory. You can also delete this. Okay, here it is actually using VAM, so it is a little bit. You can also say like this: where hours equal to 0, minutes equal to 0, just to initialize. Seconds equal to 0. I think because there is no initialization, it might be failing. Okay, then it must take three fields as constructors: hours, minutes, seconds. It must fail if invalid values. So here we have to give the required function. Okay, I do not remember the syntax. I think we have somewhere in this. You can use that and you can actually define the required function. Yeah, this is the required example. Okay, so you can create the required function like this and validate um, that hours, minutes, and seconds are valid. Okay, and then he's also asking the values of above three arguments must be valid. Class must be immutable, and you need to add a field by name minutes of day that returns the number of minutes passed during the day. Okay, so here you can say def. So to create the function, you have to use def minutes of day, and what should it return? It should return integer type. So we have to say integer. I have to figure out. Accidentally, I installed a VIM plugin also in IntelliJ. Okay, and then here it has to return minutes. Okay, and also this block is nothing but the uh, constructor logic. Whatever we want to do as part of the constructor, we can define in it. Okay, so in this case, the constructor takes three parameters. Okay, yeah, the constructor takes three parameters, and it should actually print the values, right? I think here there is some gap. I need to see because he is asking to uh, not to use. He's saying that the fields must be accessible from outside. So if it has to be accessible from outside, then we have to define like this. At the same time, he is also saying that constructor happening. I think it is a little bit sensitive to the mouse. It is just moving very fast. So it must take three fields as constructors: hours, minutes, and seconds. It must fail if invalid values. So I need to check that statement because both are contradicting. Okay, so I will come back to this probably by tomorrow. Okay, but main thing is you just create a class here and make sure that for now you can say println, and then we want to print hours, minutes, and seconds. For now, we will just take all as constructor variables. Okay, instead of okay, I know what to do. Yeah, now I understand. I just have to use my VI skills. So here, what I'm doing is I'm taking hours, int, minutes, int, and seconds, int. Okay. And then while creating this object, I will be passing three parameters by invoking the constructor. And I just want to print the hours, minutes, and seconds. Okay. So here, I just want to say hours, yes, plus minutes, plus seconds. Okay. Now we have this one. What we can do, I just have simple class, and here I am already in the SBT console. So when I launch console, it have compiled the existing programs and it launched the console. So whatever changes I have made, it will not be reflected immediately. So you have to quit from this Scala, go back to SBT, okay, and then you have to launch console again. Then only your new classes will be available. Otherwise, your new classes will not be available. Okay, so here now we can actually say val a equal to time 10 comma 5 comma 20, and it will print, sorry, new. I have to use new. Okay, now you see the time is printed. Okay, so in this he also asking to implement the required function. So you can just say this required, and in this you can provide the functionality whatever you want. So let us see what is the return type of the require. Uh, there is no return type here. Okay, so we can actually say if hours less than 0 or hours greater than 60. Okay, so actually we have to define like this. Oh man, this is, let me define like this. Okay, so here if this condition is false, then I want to just print invalid time. So this is not the correct syntax. So here we have to provide the true condition here, and then in the next section we can actually do the just have to define like this. So we require hours to be between 0 and 60. So hours should be greater than or equal to 0, and hours should be less than 60. Otherwise, we have to return invalid time. We need to add more conditions. So we just validated hours. If you want to validate more things, you can add it. I think you can even put it in curly braces here. I never tried, but you can try using curly braces and write multiple lines of code also. Okay. So now again there's a change to the code. So you quit from here and console, and then now you can create the object with the 61 here, and it failed. It said invalid time. Okay. So that is about the first exercise. Try to do it as much as you can. I will make sure whether whatever he mentioned is correct or not, because it doesn't make sense to me at least. He's saying that the variables have to be available outside, and also he's asking to write the constructor. So I will come back to you on that point. Rest of the stuff you can explore. That is the first exercise. And then we also have one more exercise, I guess. Yeah, this is the one. Again, this is continuation to, in between there are some tasks also. Okay, one of the tasks which you need to make sure you finish is on fraction. I don't know how many of you actually have completed it. So try to create that fraction because there are some uh, good examples later, which you will see. So let me see where that. Yeah, this is the one. This is another task which you can take care. So here the main reason why you should do this is we will be overriding the plus, minus, division, and star. So this is not common in other programming languages, having methods with names such as plus, minus, etc. Here we will be providing functionality for those operations. Everything is a function in Scala. Okay, and then yesterday we were talking about, as part of the last class, we were primarily talking about the singleton objects, which I have developed again for Hello World. Now we will see companion objects. Okay, So we see a class and we see object. Okay, and between these two there is one more special function called apply. First, let us understand what apply is. Then we will come back to companion objects and what actually companion objects means. Then we will get into case classes. Okay, so everything are interrelated. So what is an apply? Apply. So typically you have a constructor, right? And constructor will be um, whenever you say new and invoke, try to create the object with constructor arguments, the constructor will be invoked. Okay, apply is another special method where you don't need to say apply. You just say the object name and pass the parameters. If it is class, you just have to say the object name and the parameters, and it will invoke apply method. If you say new, it will invoke constructor. If you say object name, if there is a apply defined for it, it will invoke apply method. Okay, so now for this only, let's say here, let's say I want to create apply method. So you have to say def apply, and you can have as many parameters as you want. In this case, let's say 3 hours, int minutes, int seconds, int. You can have any functionality as part of the apply method. There is no need that it has to match your constructor or anything. It can be, you can have anything. You can have empty, you don't even need to pass parameters for an apply method. But while invoking, you don't, we will see. Then I will explain again. So here I'm just printing in apply method. Okay, I saved it. Now I'm coming out of this. You can also try these things using REPL or worksheet in IntelliJ. You don't need to struggle with SBT all the time. Okay, SBT comes handy on your actual projects where you have bunch of classes and objects, and you just want to try further. Then going to console through SBT might help sometimes. So you could be aware of it. And sometimes you might not have IntelliJ and you might have to troubleshoot some other issues. And even in that case, you can actually do SBT and you can use those things and do whatever you want. Okay. So here, again, I'm launching console. Okay, now I can create a new object like this. Okay, so here, when I say this, the constructor will be invoked. So this will be executed, and as it is valid, it didn't complain anything. It just came out by printing the hours, minutes, and times, seconds. Now, if I say A and then 10, 12, 15, it will invoke the apply method. Here I am not saying a dot apply. You can, if you want, you can also say a dot apply and specify this, and still it will be the same functionality. We will understand the significance of it when we actually talk about companion objects. Okay. So as I mentioned to you earlier, the object is a singleton. Okay, we cannot create uh, variables. Means we cannot invoke the constructor when we define object. Means we cannot create variables of type object. So for example, if we already have the object called HW, right? So HW we can invoke main function, but at the same time we cannot say val h equal to new HW. We cannot do that because it's a singleton. We can only use the object name, the name given at the time of programming it, dot, and whatever functions you have, you can invoke them. So the reason why you have to use object in many scenarios is Scala does not have static keyword. So you will not be able to say class dot method name anywhere. Only if it is object you can say that, otherwise you cannot. Okay, so then they have introduced another concept called companion object. Companion object means companion classes and objects means the class name and object name have to be same, okay, and they have to be part of the same program, or same source code file. If you have two files and if you have a class name and object name as same, it might not be treated as a companion object. It has to be part of same source code file, the class definition as well as object definition. So if I want to make a companion object here uh, for uh, uh, for time, I need to have a object time, okay, and then I can say I can do whatever I want. For now, I am just creating main function here also, okay, args and array of string. Then I can actually run this one directly, and you can see the output. Okay, so as long as the class name and the object name are same, they're called as companion objects or classes. And here, even the private methods that are part of the class can be accessible by this object. So they have some additional relationship between the two. Okay, and they can work as companion. So and you will see this when so we spoke about case class a little bit as part of the last session. So you saw that when we actually create a case class, it have getters, setters, and a few more methods such as product parity, product element, etc. And there and also it will actually give a companion object. So when I create a case class like this, so case class C, okay, int yes, yes string. When I say case class and when I actually use Java P hyphen P and print C, we see all the methods that are available that are created as part of this case class. On top of that, if you see C dollar and hit enter, you see additional stuff. C dollar is nothing but an object. Okay, so when I create a companion class, internally it actually created two classes. One is with name C, and the other one is with name C dollar. And C dollar have the rest of the functionality to make it a companion class. And here you can see there is the apply method. Okay, and there are few more methods. Most important one is apply method.
One class can contain multiple.
No, only one. Yeah. Okay, the class name and object name has to be same. Okay, and here, so the main you will see as part of data frames when we talk about Spark data frames, we will use case classes, and there we will never instantiate the objects. Instead, we will be invoking the apply method through companion class. Okay, so let me show you for now how it will look like, and then we will get back to this very important concept of case classes at the time of data frames towards the end of the Spark course. Okay, so already we have a class with constructor, a function with minutes of day, and then a method apply here. Okay, so you can have apply method both as part of the class as well as object. But typically apply method will be there in objects. We don't create apply methods as part of the classes. Okay. So I will show you what is the purpose of it. So here I am trying to create a apply method. So def apply, and here I am saying uh, new time. So let me return.
Main function of method. We call it main number of times.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
class also we have used it.
No, in
After
class
class.
we will not have main function. It is not typical main function. If you have main function in class, that means it's another method. Okay. So there are a couple of questions here. First, both are from Vijay Shekhar. So we can say the hours, minutes, and seconds are instance variables. In this case, no. They are actually constructor arguments. They are not instance variables. If we define here, then they are called as instance variables. And to make them available to others, you have to make them instance variables. Constructor arguments cannot be accessed by anyone uh, other than the constructor. So what is the difference between a function and method in Scala? I think both are same. There is no difference, but we use functions than method. Okay, more frequently.
Functional programming versus
Yeah. What is the type?
like in Java we use methods. Right? In functional programming we use keyword functions. instead of
Okay, there is no keyword function here. Just we will say def. The term is used as function. That's it. Okay. So here, so typically apply method does not return anything, uh, but we can invoke. We can pass the arguments, and using that arguments, we can invoke the constructor. Okay. So here, what I can do is I can say val a equal to new time 10, 5, 20. Okay, so 10 hours, 5 minutes, and 20 seconds, and save it. And I'm removing this. Yeah, we can have main function also. Okay, so now what I can say is I'm quitting from here and again launching console, and then so here you can see there is the apply method as part of the object, and also there is the object apply method as part of the class, right? So if I create a class like this, if I create a class like this, and if I say a dot apply, it will call the sorry a of, if we pass parameters, it will call the class level apply method. If I just say time of like this, it will just call the apply method of the object. That's the difference. So we wherever we don't need to create objects and want to invoke the function, especially while we are using case classes, wherever we want to use this apply method, we will follow this procedure. We will whenever we create case class, we will get the object along with the class to make them companion, and it will have a apply functionality. And as part of the apply functionality, the code will look like this. It will actually invoke the constructor of the class. Okay, so if you want to make it, if you want to pass the arguments here, you can say hours int minutes int and seconds int. Okay, then I can invoke the constructor. Okay, so now I can actually say launch the console. And now I can pass the parameters 10, 5, 20. Okay, so you don't need to create an object and all those things. Using the companion object for a class, you can just invoke the apply method like this. So this is nothing but time dot apply 10 comma 5 comma 20. Both are same. Okay. So we will be using case classes quite a bit when it comes to data frames. Until then, we will not be using that much. And as part of the Spark, even object-oriented concepts is not that important. But you should know minimal uh, basics. You should know what is class, what is object, what is case class, etc. You don't need to get into things like traits. There is another concept called pattern matching, which I will not be covering. It is also very important feature of Scala, pattern matching. So now, make sure you complete the tasks and exercises if you get time, so that you get comfortable with the stuff. And we have seen, I have explained what case classes are. Now we will be talking about class hierarchy. Okay, so all classes in Scala are of subtype any. Any is the superclass, and any class is subtype of any. So you can actually create, let's say you create I equal to 0, which is of type integer, and then you can say val a of any and assign I to it, because all the classes are subclasses of any. You can assign any object to type any. Okay, and then you have something called value classes. All our, let me zoom in here. Oh my god, I don't know how to zoom in. Nothing is working. But still it should zoom in. Okay, let me see. I should have the picture here. Let me open the picture directly. I hope it will zoom now. Okay, so I hope this is a little bit better, but it got blurred, but that's fine. So you see on the left side, you have something called value classes. So all our primitives fall under value classes. Okay, why they call them as value classes? I have already mentioned as part of the first class itself. Even though there are no primitives in Scala, okay, when you define value classes, wherever it has to, means wherever the underlying code have to use the primitive features. So primitives are typically faster than the classes, right? Class objects. So wherever it has to execute in the form of primitives, Scala will use that at the time of compilation is the abstraction for us. So at the time of compiler, it will decide whether to use primitive Java types or classes such as integer, long, etc. And it will compile the way it should be. So it is hidden from us. So value classes, so they actually exhibit the behavior of primitives wherever it has to behave like primitives. Otherwise, it will exhibit the behavior will be like regular classes. Okay, and then on right you have any reference, and you have all the collections, string, everything comes under any reference. What is the default value of unit? Is nothing. It's kind of void. It's like void. It is nothing. Okay. So here there is one more class called Scala.nothing. It is subclass of everything. Okay. So any is superclass of everything, and nothing is subclass of everything. Okay. So this is the class hierarchy. So now we are talking about collections. Collections, the main class or interface for collections is traversable, and then there is a subclass called iterable, and from there you have sequence, set, and map. Okay, sequence you have indexed sequence as well as linear sequence. Set you have sorted set and bit set, and map you have sorted map. So maps are like hash map. Okay, so as collections are typically iterable, all the common functionality to iterate through the elements in the collection are part of iterable. Okay, so sequences is a mapping from an index position to an element. And we have something called SCEQ. The short word used for sequences is SCQ. A sequence is a kind of iterable that has a length and whose elements have a fixed index position starting from 0. Okay, so here list is also of type. Uh, I, yeah, list is also of type sequence. That's why you can actually assign a list to sequence. Okay, so there are two types of sequences: linear sequences and indexed sequences. And we will be using list quite a bit. List comes under linear sequence because we can actually iterate through the sequences using uh, uh, iterate or append. So there are certain operations you can append to the list. You can prepend to the list. You can do whatever you want. So the index is not fixed for these linear sequences. For indexed sequences, the indexes are typically fixed. Okay, like array is an example of indexed sequence. Vector, I am not sure. I never used vector, so I'm passing it off for now. So each collection has a companion object with apply method. Okay, so each collection is nothing but a class, but internally it has a companion object also. That's why when we create the list, okay, we can directly say val l equal to list 1 comma 2 comma 3. We don't need to actually create the constructor. We don't need to say new list blah blah blah. You can just directly say uh, the collection class name and then give the values to it. Because it has apply method, internally it will invoke the apply method. Means it has a companion object with apply method. It will internally invoke that, and it will take care of the functionality you are looking for. It's all just to reduce the amount of typing you need to do. And also, so lists are typically homogeneous. So all the objects in the list are typically homogeneous. Okay, but at the same time, in this case, we have class called animal, and then we have subclasses called dog and cat. Okay, and we created a list with cat object and dog object. So what it have done? The returning list is of type animal. So elements in the list takes the base class. So all the objects in that list has to fall under that base class. Whatever is the base class at the least possible hierarchy, means it has to be higher than these objects. And if there are super classes also, it will try to use the immediate one, whichever is uh, whichever is immediate. So for example, in this case, if you have mammal and then if you have animal, and then if dog and cat extends animal, and animal is a child of mammal, still our list will be of type animal only. It will not be of type mammal. Okay, but if you have, can you guess if I have new cat, new dog, and then a numeric value 1, will it return any error, or will it work? Will it be fine?
List of any.
Yeah, it will become list of any. If you have, because that will be the uh, topmost class, and it will try to identify based upon the hierarchy, and it will try to identify what type of list it should be, and it will assign that. Okay, so type parameters. So if you to define the type of elements in the list, here we have to use square brackets. We does not use the angular brackets the way we see in Java. So if I instead of just saying val l equal to list of 1 2 3, if I want to say val, uh, if I want to define the data type, I have to say like this: list of int, and then I can say okay. So that's how you should define the data type if you want to. So now we will take some time and see what are different collection methods we have. This is very, very important. We have to spend enough time here, and we have to uh, learn as many collection APIs as possible. Okay, because when it comes to Spark, it's not about object-oriented concepts and all those things. It's all about collections. So Spark have something called RDD, which stands for Resilient Distributed Dataset. It is a special type of collection. Okay, so we'll be converting Spark collection into Scala collection, Scala collection into Spark collection, and we will be manipulating those things. So having collections knowledge is very, very important, more than anything else when it comes to data processing. Object-oriented concepts, even if you don't know much, it's fine as long as wherever it is necessary, if you can use those things like case classes when it comes to data frames, and that too you can blindly follow certain things and you can proceed without any issues. But collections is the one which you need to master, and also when we develop using Scala, we should not write for loops, while loops, if conditions, etc. There are functions and higher order functions which we need to use as much as possible. That's what functional programming means. And to get to that level, you need to have good amount of knowledge about APIs in the collections. If you don't know APIs in the collections, then you will be writing. You will not be following best practices of Scala. Okay, not only Scala, even with Python, it's the same case. They are all functional programming languages. So here, head will give the first element in the list. Take will give the number of elements which you have passed from the beginning. And the tail, except first for the first element, rest of the elements will be returned by tail. Last will give the last element. ls dot contains will check whether element is present in that position, and then ls dot zip list of 4.5.6 sorry 4 comma 5 comma 6. I don't know. Okay, here ls is 1 2 3 and zip is 4 5 6. So it's like matrix kind of thing. So it will actually pair the elements between two lists based on the position of the elements in the list. Okay, so you can try these things. And one more thing which is very handy is you can just say 0 to 10 like this, and it will create a range. Okay, and if you want to convert to list, you can say to list, and it will create a list for you. You can also say 1 to 10 if you want, instead of 0 to 10 if you want 1 to 10. You can, it is very handy just to explore all the functions in collections. So spend some time here and try it out. And if you have any questions, let me know. And also if you are using console, right? Here, L is the type list, and I can type dot and hit a tab. When we hit tab, it will actually list all the functions. Okay, it's autofill. So you will get all the functions that are available. So we will see some of the important functions later, like map, reduce, etc. But for now, whatever is documented here, you can follow those things. Okay, I will give two minutes. You can go through the several functions in list and see whether you were able to figure out.
IntelliJ 634 this time and say it's not creating all the folders.
Yeah. Change it to the lambda type. No, FPT is that's fine. FPT should be fine. Yeah. To the lambda type and use data import. Then finish. So it will take some time. You have to wait until that.
It's not creating all the folders. Create after it is.
Yeah. So this, as part of this, whatever is happening now, we will be creating that. First time it will take time. This is the first project, it will take at least 10-15 minutes.
Write these lines in the program and to run them. PL or head or L dot take up to or whatever. So can we run a bulk of these lines and execute them at once? So I'm creating a list
Yeah.
in the Scala file, trying to run the file. I can see the output, like whatever we see in the console, like in the Scala.
Okay, so there are multiple tools here. So if you want to write multiple lines of code, you can just say colon paste and type multiple lines of code.
Here, if we declare the list and have that L dot tail and we got that
Yeah.
something like that, then if you run the file,
Yeah.
get the output.
Yeah, I think so. Let us try. Val L equal to list 1, 2, 3. Okay, so here if you, so you have to print those details because we are not using all the, so let's try it out. Okay, let's say I want to get L dot first and then control D. Okay, first is not the valid function. Head, actually I should have used head. Paste. Okay, so you got it. Similarly, if you want tail of L dot of list 4, 5, 6. Okay, so there is some issue. It is indexed out of the bound. I don't know why it is causing L dot this. Okay, so there is an issue with. Okay, I know what is the problem here. I just have to say take, not fail, and then I can say zip. Yeah, you can write in the paste mode. And also another tool is that can come handy if you are using Scala, sorry, IntelliJ. You can right click on this, go to new, and then you can actually click on Scala worksheet, give the name worksheet, and you can paste all the lines here and run it, save it, and immediately it will show on the right side of the screen. So for example, here I can copy these 4 lines. Okay, here you don't even need to save, it will automatically come. Okay, see here, now you can see the results like this. So there is a question from Vijay. So Scala support meta programming, something like I dot respond method name. I don't know what is meta programming, Vijay. If you can elaborate, I will try to answer.
You can change this structure of a class dynamically at runtime. It supports to add new methods once the class is created. Or you can change the behavior of the method.
I'm not sure.
So we have some private methods in that. Method 1, method 2 in the class.
Yeah.
So we can add new methods into the class
Okay. Okay. At the runtime,
at the runtime.
I don't think it is possible because it has to go through the compiler phase. Does any of the compiler based programming language support that?
All
Which programming language have that?
Groovy, Groovy,
Okay. Groovy runs in JVM, right?
runs on JVM.
Probably then this also might work that way. I'm not sure. I'm not an application programmer. I'm from data background, so I don't know all these terminologies. I know Java and I learned Scala recently for Spark, but I'm not a traditional application programmer. So most of these things are I'm not expert in those areas. So there is a question from Himanshu. Sir, so by val L list int, it becomes a generic list. No, it will become list of type integers. So if I say val, whether you say val L equal to list of 1, comma 2, comma 3, or val L list of int. It's nothing but a collection of type integers. It's not generic list. But if I say val L equal to list of 1, hello, world, then it will be of type any. List is supposed to be for homogeneous elements, not for heterogeneous elements. If you look into the APIs, you have APIs such as size, sum, etc. Okay, so it's primarily for homogeneous elements. Yeah. So val L equal to, you want to pass nothing. Let us see whether it will work. I think I have to say new nothing. No, we cannot even instantiate. It's an abstract class. So I'm not sure. I think you can. Nothing is subclass of everything, and
Nothing is something that doesn't exist.
yeah, nothing is something with that.
You are creating an object, it is something
Yeah,
that doesn't make sense.
yeah, yeah. But I think if you okay, but in some places we use nothing as an argument. I guess I do not remember. I could not recollect. It's a child class of everything, so I'm not sure. I think implicitly it might assign sometimes.
Everything is also an abstract class.
What is that?
Everything is also an abstract class.
Any, not
Any.
everything. It's any. I don't think any is an abstract class. We can see the docs. Yeah, it's an abstract class, yes. Okay, so any questions? Why? So Rupesh is asking why is list is in immutable package? What does it mean? Um, so what does that mean is once you create a collection with list, okay. Uh, I think when they say immutable, you will not be able to. You will not. You can add elements to the list, but you will not be able to uh, change the address or something. I'm also not 100% sure. Okay, so let me try this out. So I'm creating a list of 1.2.3. First, let us understand how to manipulate these things, how to add elements to it, and how to remove, at least how to add elements to it. So if I want to add in one more element to list, okay. So this is how it will look like. If you want to append, you just say colon plus, okay.
Durga, one question here.
Yes.
When we were creating list with elements one and hello and world, so there one is stored as a string.
What is that? When we create a, who is this?
And this is Tanmay from Epsilon.
Yes, Tanmay, what is the question?
My question is when we are creating a list of one hello and world.
Yes.
So one is stored as a string here.
No, they are of type any. Each element is of type any.
So
if-
it can be heterogeneous type.
Actually, it is supposed to be homogeneous, but if you have heterogeneous elements, it will automatically convert everything to any. Now everything is any. So if you want to again
Okay.
process this element, you have to convert it into integer. If you want to do some integer, if you want to apply any integer methods, you have to convert this element to integer, and then only you will be able to apply that functionality. So now everything is any. Once you create list like this, it's a homogeneous collection, and everything is any.
All right, got it. Thanks.
Okay, so now when I say L colon plus 4, this 4 will be added to the list. So now let us try L equal to L plus 4. Okay, because okay, let's make it as var. In the val, let me make the list as var. Okay, and now I am trying to add element to the list. So you can see, even though it is part of immutable, we can still update the elements in the list. So even though they say it's part of immutable, that doesn't mean that the collection is immutable. Probably uh, uh, the address might not change or something. I am not 100% sure, but uh, don't get confused that like val you will not be able to update that collection if we actually create a variable of type list. You can still, as long as the variable is mutable, you can add the elements to the list. If you say colon plus 4, it will actually add element to the existing list. If you say L equal to L equal to L plus colon 0, okay, it is not member of int. I think there are some functions here. Let me go to the functions. Okay, here. Okay, so if I say 0 colon numbers, so yeah, numbers dot. So there is a method to add elements to the beginning of the list also. I'm not able to recollect that. I think L equal to, yeah, I think if I say 0 plus, yeah. So if you put the value before it and list after, you can add 0 to the list in the beginning. If you say L colon plus colon, sorry. So if you want to add at the end, you have to do like this. If you add in the beginning, if you have to add in the beginning, you have to do it like this. Okay, so here we are appending list to value. We are prepending the list with 0. Okay, and also there are a few additional methods like 0 colon numbers. Sorry, 0 colon L. You can see that new element is added, and you can also say it like this. Okay, so to answer your question, I am also not 100% sure why it is part of immutable package. I will try to get back to you by tomorrow. Okay, so here it's a task again, create a list containing numbers from 1 to 10. So it's pretty easy. As I have mentioned earlier, you can just say 1 to 10 and then 2 list. It will create a list. And then you can do these exercises. Get the first element. You can say head, last element. You can say last. You can get the size. I think you just have to say length. Size, I guess, yeah. So it's pretty straightforward to get the help. You just have to say L dot, hit tab, and you can see the functions. Size will give the size. Okay. So here I have created from 0 to 10, that's why it is 11. Now if I say size, it will be only 10. And you can go through the rest of the stuff, they're pretty straightforward. And at the end, add an element to the head of the list. So in this case, if I want to add 0, I just have to say L equal to, or I can say L dot colon 0, and then 0 will be added. Okay, and then create another list of numbers from 10 to 15. Append the above list to this list in the front. Okay, so we have to append the above list to this list in the front. So we have to add this 0 to 10 to the new list. So here we can say val k equal to 11 to 15 to list, and then we can say um, L equal to L, no, L plus column K, I guess, or L equal to, no, it's of type. Let me make it as var. Other type mismatch. I think what I can do is I can say, yeah, no, this is not the way we have to do. Okay, so how to do this? Create another list or append. So let us see the functions here. L dot tab and see if there is any function here. So L column plus K. Yeah, but it is creating the list towards the end. Okay, that's why it is failing. It is becoming list of any. So that is not the correct way of doing it. Let us try L plus plus. Yes, so L plus plus is the function. Okay, so it will append the elements towards the end. And here we have to say L equal to L plus plus K. Okay, sorry. So now further into collections, we are talking about set. Set is nothing but it will not have duplicates. Okay, but that doesn't mean that it will sort the data. It will only eliminate the duplicates. If you want to sort, you have to apply sort functions, and there is something called sorted set also. Okay. And then very important, we use tuple a lot when it comes to Spark. So tuple is primarily heterogeneous elements. So you can have elements of any type as part of the tuple. Okay. And there is no keyword like list. You don't need to say list, and similar to list, you don't need to say tuple. Okay, tuple is represented by circular brackets. So if I say 1 comma hello, so it is nothing but tuple with two elements. One is of type int and the other one is of type string. So we can have list of tuples. Okay. So if you want to, you can create val L equal to. These are the things which are very important. We'll be using these as part of Spark quite a lot. So dealing with the tuples and the collection, some of the list functions and all will help a lot. And then we'll cover few more APIs like map, filter, etc. a little bit later. Okay, so val L equal to, let's say I want to create a tuple. What I can do, I just have to say list. And first I'm saying hello. And then second tuple I am saying world. And hit enter. Now you can see it is of type, it's a collection, which is list in this case. And each element in the collection is of type tuple. And the first element in the tuple is of type integer. And the second element of the tuple is of type string. Okay, this is how our records will be, right? You will have multiple fields, and typically each and every record will be treated as tuple in most of the cases.
Can tuple have a number of
Yeah, you can have any number of elements in a tuple, but typically when it comes to list, you need each tuple has all the tuples has to be homogeneous. If you're trying to create a list of tuples, all the tuples in that list has to be homogeneous. But you can have any number of elements in a tuple, and any data type. You can have a number of elements with m number of data types, so different data types.
So first tuple is having two elements, then the following tuples would also have
Yes.
two elements.
Means that's the behavior of the collection, which is list in this case. So list, all the elements have to be homogeneous. Okay, that's what list definition is. All the elements have to be homogeneous. So in this case, if you are creating a list of tuples, all the tuples have to be homogeneous. Then only you will be able to do something on that. Okay, we will see that we will see tuples in action a little bit later. And map is nothing but a hash map where we have key value pairs, and you can see here I have defined again I am using apply method to create two elements in the map. First element's key is 1 and value is A. Second element's key is 2 and value is B. Okay, but even within the collections, we typically use tuples and lists quite a lot in Spark. So we will focus on that, and we will actually get into some of the important methods very quickly. So arrays is the Java arrays in the background. So if you create an array, it will use Java arrays only internally, and arrays are mutable. Okay, these are some useful collection methods: isEmpty, map, filter, group by, toSet, drop while, reverse combinations, and also reduce. He didn't mention reduce in this. Reduce is also very important useful collection method. On top of these things, you have fold left, fold right, fold. These are all very important Scala collections. But when it comes to Spark, the knowledge will help. We will not be using the Scala APIs. We will use Spark APIs. So Spark have RDD, and RDD have all these methods overridden. Okay, and then we will be using from Spark using Spark based APIs as part of our program. So we will not be using Scala APIs quite a lot to deal with these kinds of functionality. We will see what is map, what is filter in a moment, and then you will understand why it is more relevant towards Spark than here. So lazy val is it will not be evaluated until it is being used. Okay, so typically let me demonstrate it here. If I run this, okay, what it is doing, it will printing immediately, and it is also returning the return value. Okay, if I define it as lazy, unless I use y, until that point it will not be evaluated. Okay, and if I say y, this is the first time we are using, and when we are using it is being evaluated. So sometimes if there is a time consuming task in the middle and you want to evaluate only at the runtime, then you can define it as lazy, and you can actually use it later. So when we use Spark is by default lazy. So you will create a Spark context object. You will when I think Spark context is not lazy. Once the Spark context is created, when we actually use APIs, only when we see certain actions, you will see the execution happening. Until then, it will not be executed. Okay, so that is actually called as lazy evaluation, and that lazy evaluation is by default embedded as part of the Spark, and you will see lazy evaluation in action all the time. Within Scala, by default, it's not lazily evaluated, but Spark, by default, it's lazily evaluated. Only when you see, there are two types of APIs. at a higher level. One is transformations and one is actions. So transformations will not be evaluated immediately. It will be compiled into something called DAG, directed acyclic graph, and only when we invoke actions on the Spark, we will see the execution in action. Until then, it will only compile into the DAG. Okay, we will see that when we talk about Spark in a couple of days. Probably tomorrow or day after, we will be starting on Spark. So now there are some methods which is very important and which you need to understand, and there is something called functions and higher order functions. We'll get to that in a moment. But now let us evaluate few more APIs on the collection itself. So here I am creating 1 to 100 list. Okay. So val L equal to 1 to 100. Okay. Typically, if I want to add these values, how will I do? In typical programming language, we will say for if it is Java, you will write the class specification and all those things, and then you will say for val. First, you will be declaring a variable called total. It should be val. It's not. It should not be val. Val total equal to 0, right? And then you will be looping in for loop, saying for val for value. In this case, this is the syntax of Scala. If you want to write for loop, you just say for value with this operator. You will assign the list. Okay, and then you will say total plus equal to value, and then print total. Okay, this is how you typically write in any programming language, in Java, C, C++, like that. Probably syntax will be a little bit different, but this is the standard practice. You will first create a aggregator variable, and then you will be adding all the values to it. Okay, but when it comes to Scala, you have to make it immutable. When you make it immutable, it will be a little bit more complicated to write. Okay. So instead of using for loops like this, you have to use Scala APIs on collections to perform this kind of operations. You should not write for loop like this. Okay. The reason why you should not write like this is if you want to make your application scalable, okay, then your variables has to be immutable. Okay. So that way you can actually do multi-threading, multi-processing, distributed computing, and you can get results much faster when you are dealing with higher volumes of data. So in this case, if you want to get the sum, there are multiple methods in the collection. You can hit tab, L.tab. There is sum. Okay. You can use sum, and it will give the value. But let's say I want to get the sum of only even values. I don't want to get all the odds, and I want to get only the even values. How will you do that? Using any of these methods? Any idea?
Filter
Okay, filter,
and then sum.
and then sum. That is one way of doing it. So L dot filter. So in filter, you have to give the expression which will return true or false. If it is true, the record will be, so what will happen is this filter will be applied on all the 100 records. If the value is true, if the expression returns true, then the records will be passed on to the next collection. So a new collection has to be created, and that collection will have only those records where the filter condition returns true. The rest of them will be discarded. So here I can say L dot filter, and here there is something called anonymous functions. Okay, so anonymous functions, you just have to give the parameter name and then imply, and then you can actually define whatever logic you want to implement as part of the anonymous function. Anonymous function means function with no name. Here we are not creating any function, but still we are writing like a typical function. And the logic is if x mod 2 equal to 0, I want to filter only those things, and I want to discard the rest of the things. So I will be getting even values and discarding odd values. Okay, then I can close the curly brace, which will complete the functionality of the anonymous function, and then close the circular bracket, which is for filter, and hit enter. Now we got only the integer values, and we can actually say you can assign to different collection and you can apply the sum on it, or you can directly apply the sum on this also, and you get 2550. Same thing can be applied like this also. If it is a single line code, you don't need to use circular brackets. You just have to say x mod 2 equal to 0 and then sum. You will get the result. Okay. Now let's make it a little bit more complicated. Okay. No, let's make it more complicated. So let's create the collection of tuples. Okay. And then we will see how to process the data. So here, I'm using, let's say T equal to list of, first element is 1, hello, second element is 2, world, third element is 3, how, fourth element is R, fifth element is U, and sixth element is doing. Okay. Now we have created a list of tuples, and we want to just add the all the numeric values. So any idea how to do this? Again, I am hitting T dot and tab and get all the functions that are available. So can you guess which function should be used? What is it? Okay. So the answer is map. There might be other methods also, but you should focus on map. Here, first you need to understand the logic behind which functions could be used for what purpose. Okay, for that, first you should think about different types of aggregations we typically do in any project. Okay, can you guys recollect what type of data processing we will do in any project? Guess. Anyone online? Can you guys guess what are the typical data processing we will do for any project? So log files, it's not type of data processing. We will be doing data processing on top of log files. If you take the example of log files, what you will do as part of the data processing on those log files? You are telling how we will be doing. Okay, what type of functionality we will be implementing as part of the data processing? Yeah, so it is at the higher level called as transformations, and there are different types of transformations which we will do. Okay, think about a big enterprise where there are multiple projects running for that enterprise. For example, if you take Flipkart or Amazon, okay, they might have multiple applications such as recommendation engine and product catalog and the transactions when you buy the products, and the transactions, order management system, all those things. Each one will be a different project, right? and each one have the capacity of collecting our information, right? And using that information, downstream I want to build another application to process the data and get insights from that data. So take the example of phone number. Some application might take the phone number as numeric value. Some application might take as a string with a definite uh, format. Okay, so you might have client-side validation about what your phone number should be, and in the database also some people actually store in that same format, right? So when it comes to downstream application, we have to make sure that all the phone numbers are stored in uniform manner. So when it comes to using standard terms, it is called as data standardization. So in some cases, we have to standardize the data. That is one kind of transformation. Classic example is phone number, address, all these things. And then you will have special characters in your data for whatever reason. It could be bug in your application or unhandled scenarios in your application. You will be getting all kinds of weird characters. Sometimes it is due to the browser the guy is using to fill a form, and you have to cleanse those special characters. So cleansing of the data is another kind of transformation which we will do. Sometimes when it comes to order life cycle, there can be multiple stages in orders life cycle. It could be in new, it could be in processing, it could be in shipping, it could be in delivered, and it could be in closed. And we don't want to probably process data which is cancelled for whatever reason. We have to filter out that data. It is another kind of transformation, filtering the data. And then aggregations, like how much revenue it is generated, how much standard deviation or how much variance from the expectations of the company for whatever reasons. All these things are considered as aggregations. And then sorting and ranking within the category, what type of products are being sold highest and what kind of products are being generating highest revenue. So these are all different kinds of aggregations which we need to do. So transformation which we need to do. If you think from all these angles, all these things, so there are, we can at a higher level we can categorize them as, take the examples of removing the special characters and standardizing your phone numbers, and then discarding the data which you are not interested in. All these things, the common behavior of all these things are, they will typically take one record as input. Okay, if it is standardization, there will be certain rules depending upon the source projects, and the data will be stored, and we have to apply different formula to standardize the data. So input record will be one record, and then apply the rules, and then output will be a standardized phone number, right? Similarly, if you want to remove the special characters, the input record will be the record with special characters, output record will be the record without special characters. So these are all row level transformations. So all these row level transformations are typically done using map function. Okay, and then if you want to clean the data, if you want to discard certain data, you can use filter function to discard whatever we don't want. And if you want to do aggregations, we use reduce or fold, etc. when it comes to Scala. Okay, so first you have to think in which category the use case fall in, and then you have to decide which functions you should use. So in this case, my requirement is pull out all the numeric values from these tuples and add those things. So what I have to do, I have to use map function. Okay, input will be a tuple, output will be only the numeric value from the tuple. Right? So here I am using map. Okay, and again I'm giving the name x as parameter for my anonymous function. Okay, and I am writing the logic to extract the value from the first element from the tuple. So let me first show how to access those elements. Okay, so how to access an element from the collection? You can either you can use take, and also you can say t of 0, and it will give the first element in the collection. If you say t of 1, it will give the second element of the from the collection. Okay, so like in an array, it's nothing but a collection, regular collection. Okay, and but in Java we use square brackets. Here we use circular brackets. That's the only difference when it comes to dealing with collection type. To read element, we have to subscript using circular bracket. Okay. Now t dot is 0 is of type tuple, and how to read elements from the tuple? Uh, it will be like this. We have to use something called underscore notation. Okay. So and then we have to give the position of the element to read a particular element in the tuple. So in this case, if we want to read the first element from the t of 0, then we have to say underscore 1, not underscore 0. Okay, tuples has to be read using underscore notation starting from 1. Collections are typical to similar to Java. Okay, and now you can see it is actually retrieving 1 from the tuple. Now, as part of the map function, t dot map, x will be means in each iteration x will be nothing but a tuple. So we have 100 elements. Let's say there are 6 elements in this tuple. This map will be invoked 6 times. So in each iteration, it will be processing 1 element, right? So here I want to get only the numeric value. So I can say x dot underscore 1 and hit enter. Now we got the list of elements. Now you can use sum to add the values in that list. Okay, and uh, so sum is only to add the elements, but if you want to write little bit of complicated example, let's say you want to find out the minimum of the value rather than sum. Let's see if there is any minimum function here. There is min here, so we can use min also. I think we have max also. We can get min, max, etc. But other than that, if you want to write some other complicated logic, then you have to use methods like reduce. So you have reduce, reduce left, and reduce right, and also fold, fold left, and fold right. You can use either fold functions or reduce functions. So fold left and reduce left are to process data from the left in the list. Fold right is to process data from the right in the list. And fold is you can process in any order. Okay, typical in distributed computing, we will use fold, reduce kind of stuff. We will not use fold left or fold right, because fold left or fold right are typically single threaded. Fold and reduce are you can use multi-threaded. Okay, I think min and max use fold left or fold right. I'm not 100% sure. Probably internally they might be using. I think fold. They might be using fold only. I'm not 100% sure though. Anyway, when it comes to Spark, we don't have all these functions like sum, min, and max as per my knowledge goes, or I haven't explored that. We have only uh, 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 reduce, reduce by key, aggregate by key, group by key, etc. And we have to use those transformations and actions to get the sum, min, max, etc. It does not provide APIs such as min, max, sum, the way we see it in Scala collections. Okay. So this is very, very important, and you can try, means you can take any example and simulate in the form of tuples and start processing the data in that. Okay. Now let's say we have that we want to sort the data based on the strings. Hello world, how are you doing? Okay. So what we have to do, first we need to get all the strings. So t dot map will get all the strings, and then we have to do sort by. Actually, we can directly say t dot sort by. We don't even have to do map. Let's say I want to get the elements in sorted order uh, by the string. Okay, so here I can say t dot sort by. Okay, and k equal to k implies k dot underscore true. Okay, first let us try this and see what will happen. You can see all hello capitals came in the front and then all smalls came in the last. It's sorted in alphanumeric order. So if you want to sort in descending order, it will fail. Yeah, it will not. It will not work like that. We have to identify how to sort in descending order. With numeric values, you can just say minus, but with alphanumeric values, you cannot say minus. There should be a way to do that. So you have to use functions like this, sort by, etc. Okay, and then you will get the data in the sorted order like this. So try exploring as many APIs as possible as part of the list. We'll be using quite a bit in Spark, and some of the functions have the overriding implementation for RDD. The method names or the function names will be same as in list, but it will be overridden for RDDs. Okay, so that being said, that's it for today. If you have any questions, let me know. We'll catch up tomorrow. So we'll be focusing on functions and higher order functions tomorrow as well for a few minutes, and then we will start exploring Spark. Okay, any questions here? Make sure you have your environment set properly with IntelliJ, SBT, and all those things. That way you can develop easily rather than struggling with the command line interface. It will waste some of your time if you just do it using command line interface. And make sure you develop on your PC and ship the jar file, build the jar file, and ship it onto the cluster and run on the cluster when we talk about Spark jobs later. We will also have to see how to invoke the Scala programs. So we will see that tomorrow. Okay, lazy eval. So if you go back, so this is normal evaluation. Okay, it actually printed it is compiled immediately and it printed the results also immediately. Whereas when it comes to lazy evaluation, I think it will compile, but it will not evaluate it immediately. Okay, so here I just said lazy val y and displayed here, and then when we actually use it in whatever way we want, at that time it will be evaluated. In this case, y is evaluated because here I am using y, so it will be evaluated here. So you don't need to worry too much about this at this time. The only thing which you need to remember is when it comes to Spark, by default it is lazily evaluated. So when we actually start writing Spark code, it will compile into something called DAG, but it will not be executed immediately. Only times it will be executed is when we see something called action. So when we start actually looking into Spark, you will understand what I'm talking about. But from this example, you just need to understand that when it comes to when it comes to using without lazy, it will be compiled and it will be evaluated immediately. With lazy, it will not. It will be compiled, but it will not be evaluated immediately. So is this session recorded? Yes, I am recording both in. Okay, I forgot to record on WebEx, but the video will be available on YouTube. I thought I started recording. Okay, anyway, that's fine. It's in YouTube. So let me give the link of the YouTube. Okay, so you can follow it. Okay, so any questions here? So don't worry too much about object-oriented concepts because that is not highly relevant for when it comes to data processing. So one of the anomaly which I have observed is when Java developers come on to the data processing projects, they will start cribbing about unit testing and object-oriented concepts and all those things. But being coming from strong data background, we don't care about unit testing. We don't care about object-oriented concept. They are not required in most of the cases because we deal with huge amounts of data, and typically the source data is already well formatted, cleaner data. And even if some of the data is incorrect, it's not a showstopper for us. So if you follow any of the successful data warehousing projects, some of the um, some of the data which will raise exceptions will be logged into a separate log table and it will be troubleshooted later. They will not be. It is not possible to produce all the scenarios as part of the unit testing and run unit testing. Unit testing is not at all relevant, but people tend to lot of guys. So lot of initial takers from of big data are from Java background, and they emphasize on this quite a bit. But in actual data world, we don't care about unit testing or object-oriented concepts, etc. The only reason why Java is not successful in data processing and all is it's very complicated to implement even simple use case. Now with programming languages like Scala, Python, and all, data processing is pretty straightforward. So just to compare, if you have to join two data sets, in Java, it will take at least 200, 300 lines of code. With Scala or Python, you can write with 7 lines of code. So that's why now again, the data processing is moving towards programming languages rather than using tools like Informatica, DataStage, etc. Okay, any questions here? Thank you very much for attending the session. We'll resume tomorrow and we will continue on Scala itself. Probably tomorrow itself we'll start on Spark. If not tomorrow, we'll start day after tomorrow for sure. Okay, thank you very much. Bye.
So coming to Scala, we can use only that function, or we can use any additional function, be different or user different function.
1 minute.